So I'm Unmesh, by the way. I have 16 plus years of experience in technology industry. I worked for financial institutions, all on the technology side. Financial institutions like Citi, TD Canada, US, Canada as well for more than a decade. I worked on the consulting side too for companies like IBM Canada, Oracle and so on. I moved back to India almost 1.5 years back. Right now I'm working with DBS Asia Hub 2, which is our technology center here in Hyderabad. So that is called as DAH2. I'm the COO for this center. So thank you.
So my name is Kumar, Gaurav. I founded Cashaa 2 years ago, and today we are started solving some of the unsolvable problem which especially blockchain or more focused crypto industry having a proper banking infrastructure for the companies who are dealing in cryptos or doing an ICO. So we have some set of rules. If a startup or someone is following that, we are very open to accept those companies to give the payment and banking infrastructure from Europe.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Deepak Sharma. I head digital initiatives at Kotak Mahindra Bank. So pretty much new technology, business model innovation, customer-centric projects. We also run an innovation lab out of Bangalore, where our team has got about 23 patents in last 1.5 years on various areas, leveraging technology in banking and financial service space. Specific to today's session, as bank, obviously, we have seen blockchain coming for long. We have been trying to find meaning and relevance of that within the banking and financial service industry, knowing pretty much that we have to balance regulation and innovation together. But I'm glad to say that we have found quite a few relevant use cases, and some of those have also gone live. So I look forward to talking about it and also learning and sharing some of the experiences from colleagues around.
Thank you. My name is Avinash Pitti. I go by Avi. I am currently heading the technology division at Nucleus.Vision. I am team blockchain.
So I think, guys, let's make it little chirpy and fun so that people take away something. How many people are trying to do something with banks here? Okay, there's at least a decent number of hands. So I'll ask the questions. Feel free, whoever wants to chime in, right? So my first question is that banking and fintech are supposed to be one big bucket of adopters in the blockchain. Let's just say blockchain, right? Let's leave the crypto for now. But isn't it a little bit of a diaboly in terms of the whole idea of blockchain is supposed to be create solutions where you don't need a lot of intermediaries, meaning read banks as well to some degree. How do you all read that situation and kind of preempt that? So maybe like the bankers can go first.
While we are sitting next to each other, we are unable to hear it properly. So obviously, I think for anything where there's a technology involvement, there is a scope and there is a need for us to work with fintech. And most of the solutions today that we have deployed are in partnership with fintech. So our first solution that in payment we went live was with Ripple. We were talking to Ripple for obviously a while, but more than just a POC or proof of concept as we keep hearing, even as a bank we tried several. But I think it was important for us to identify opportunities and create solution which can be at scale. And we found out that India, obviously, with close to $74 billion of foreign fund inflow on the retail remittance side, had a huge opportunity to bring in a low-cost, fast solution at scale. And not from traditionally the countries or corridors like North America, Middle East and all, but also look at the smaller geographies from continents like Africa and South America. Now, by working on a platform like Ripple, we found that it's that much more easier for us to go granular, go down to every single market and bring in the connect, which is much faster, easier and seamless. So there was a strong business model to back it up. And we are live as we speak now on Ripple. Similarly, we now looked at another opportunity, which is, as you all know, in India, you have a sizable stressed assets, and there is a issue of trust in terms of SMEs about inventory or collaterals, and what you are mortgaging, or when you do a invoice financing or supply chain. So we found again there was a strong opportunity because this needs an ecosystem to kick in. And as we look at fintechs, we found that it's not just about solution. You need a solution, you need a partner or an ecosystem, and you need to get value out of it. And I think by bringing all these three, which is our customers, the financial institution, in this case as bank, and obviously the solution provider, which were fintechs, we could create some of these solutions. And I think that is what has brought conviction now in the system, that models like these, if carefully chosen, can deliver immense value.
Deepak, one more. Did you all consider anything else along with Ripple, or pretty much Ripple was what you all zeroed down in?
No, so as we speak on this area, it was Ripple because we were, as I said, it took us 2 years. So it's not that we just went with that partnership. We were also looking at, as Swift was pretty much getting into the blockchain space to settle that. But whole idea was, is it going to create a significant business opportunity? As I said, we are going back to the first principle, that while everybody is saying, I want to do something in blockchain, for us, the question always was, what will blockchain solve for me? Is it going to create an opportunity, reduce cost, let me get into new markets, or relook at probably some of the business processes that were thought in a world where, the source of trust was at one nodal point. So how do we make sure? So today we work with a lot of them. There is another company that we are working here by bringing in the smart contract on UPI. Now, that's something which has not been done. But now with the UPI 2.0 coming in India, there's a huge opportunity for you to link a payment and a smart contract embedded into one. And I think that's where we are working with another fintech. We work with over close to 30 fintechs today as we speak. Some of these, again, as I said, are in the areas where we've been trying to see whether there's a scale. But also we work with large firms like Infosys and IBM today as part of their consortiums, or Prime Chain, which has been bringing in all the banks and ecosystem player together. And some of these, I would say, we have broken it into a bet of 12 months. What all do we see going live and can get scale versus a medium, which is up to 3 years. And both of these short-term to a medium-term bets, we have quite a few partners that we have been working with.
Understood. Unmesh, you want to talk about what DBS is doing in this space and what are you trying to look at?
So from DBS perspective, we are still in the early stages. We are still exploring. We have found out some use cases, especially in the area of trade finance and so on. But more than that, I think he made a very right point in terms of what does that really mean from an opportunity point of view, right? What is the business opportunity? And especially, is the technology scalable? Can we take the costs out of the system? I think these are some of the key parameters that we are considering. But our journey has just begun, and we intend to continue our progress on that.
Kumar, how are you looking at this space? You are cooperating with banks, working with them, or you are positioning yourself as an alternative to banks for people who are unbanked?
Yeah, so no, we are not alternative to bank. We are a kind of banking platform ourselves. So I will not get into the argument that we are decentralized or something, because the moment I say that you have some kind of connection with the regulated entity, you have to be a central authority. But what's our philosophy is that as a bank or as a banking platform, what we are doing to bridge the gap between, which I say in my term, between the old money, dollars and GBPs and INRs of the world, and this new money which is coming, Bitcoin, Ether, and different crypto tokens. So how we are actively looking to bridge this gap? Because today we stand on a stage where we have this entire 300 billion ecosystem created, this fancy conference and everything around that. But the reality is that to do all of this, you need the old money. No matter the ICO raises $1 billion in Bitcoin, but when you go to pay your employees and everyone, you need the fiat, correct? And that's a challenge. How are you going to do that? So as a bank, our objective is to bridge this gap so that the new companies, the new blockchain companies, crypto companies who are coming, they can keep doing what they are doing. And as one of the pillar of the financial ecosystem, as a banking or as a financial provider, let's say, maybe we will not say it bank after 10 years, I don't know, have to do this. So we have to identify what are the real problems. Because of that, we are neglecting the crypto space. It's AML, it's KYC, it's monitoring ongoing transactions, it's having scam ICOs. What is the real problem? Because we cannot really just categorize that, okay, this is blockchain, this is Bitcoin, this is crypto, go away. No, that approach will not work, at least now or going forward, coming along. So that's mostly Cashaa is about.
Avi, you want to talk about challenges from a banking standpoint, where today obviously banks in India are kind of slashed out from fiat to crypto, right? Do you think there are businesses and people who are taking their business outside? And obviously what regulator is thinking and doing is something that we have been talking about. And are people, and is that making the European banks much more attractive? And what do you see the challenges there, both short term and long term?
Yes, I think I can take that question. It's advantage for international banks, European banks. People are moving out. There has to be a clear direction from the regulatory in terms of how we have to do this. It's clearly companies are being registered outside. People are going to Cayman. People are going to Malta. People are going to Gibraltar. But it has to, the money raised, I'm sure regulatory, RBI, and everybody's looking at it, loss of revenue, loss of money. It has to be in the country. Money raised in India has to be in India. That's why it's all about, how you identify the customer, how do you keep that customer, how do you account for it, what category the accounting, the revenues, the incomes from crypto assets go into. And I'm sure that will be cleared from a regulatory perspective in the next coming weeks. But yes, I think there is an opportunity to clear this, clarify to people, clarify to companies that if we don't do this, it's going out. I mean, Indian exchanges, we had a session earlier where discussion happened about what should be done to keep that flow. And obviously, people don't know what's happening with cryptocurrencies. If you go outside, you see there are a lot of payments being accepted. I was reading the other day, Thailand is selling movie tickets for Bitcoins. There is food, restaurants taking Bitcoins. There is, I was reading Starbucks is going to sell Frappuccinos with Bitcoins. There is gaming happening, which I think one of the companies presented earlier for gaming. I'm sure there is a lot of gaming activity happening in the blockchain space and the crypto space, which will have a lot of revenues internationally. And obviously retail, there is a lot of online retail happening. So there is this kind of learning required, education required for people to, senior dignitaries at the government level has to understand that if you don't do it right, if you don't learn from the other countries, the other regulations, I think we are going to miss something.
Understood. Thanks, Avi. I'm open to kind of taking up questions from the crowd. If anyone has anything pressing to ask, this would be the time to put up your hand. I don't see any hands.
Is there a feeling of extinction or threat in banks because of crypto?
Say the whole question again.
Is there a feeling of extinction or threat of disruption in banks that there will be no banks tomorrow?
In one word, no. Because as I said, there are so many things happening around. And this has been said several times that, will banks cease to exist? Banking is relevant, banks are not. And I think these are fair statements, because when you hear something like this, it makes us go back on the drawing board and say, how do we find meaningful adoption, use cases of these technology? And I think we don't know how regulations will play, frankly, as we speak. But today, the way we look at it, we definitely see this will make banks far more efficient. It will make recording of assets far more seamless. It will make sure that stuff like non-performing assets of the bank or securitization, looking at stressed assets, tracking collaterals. Each of these, today what banks eventually have to do, they can do it far, far more efficiently. So today we see, we are rather more excited because this can help banks relook at the banking in a manner which is far more secure, safe, and you do not need definitely at every point a source or a custodian of document and trust. So I would say at Kotak we definitely are far more excited. Everything, be it open banking, be it AI, be it blockchain, I think it just depends on how you look at each of these as an opportunity. And we see these pretty much all these as opportunity for banks to reinvent themselves.
Just one more question if allowed.
I just want to add one thing to that. So I personally believe banks will not go away, not because I'm from a bank, but realistically speaking, when I right now look at the central banks across the globe, there are banks, central banks that are exploring opportunities to launch their own cryptocurrencies. That is going to get, if that becomes viable over the period of time, that will gain a lot of credibility further. And right now, the way I look at it right now, not only with my employer, but overall across the banking landscape, banks are right now treating this as an opportunity rather than a threat. So there are some very solid use cases in areas such as settlement and clearing systems, exploring KYCs, syndicated loans, trade finance, and so on. So if the current experimentation that is going on in the industry is successful, there will be enormous opportunities in terms of leveraging blockchain as a technology.
Thank you. Just one more question if allowed. Okay, so I look at it from the top-down view, say that the vision with which the Bitcoin white paper was written by Satoshi Nakamoto, if that happens, then the CIBIL kind of credit rating will happen on blockchain, peer-to-peer lending will happen on blockchain, the cryptos will have its own value, and say that everything is well regulated, so there will be no central party. So where do you see banks doing anything in this picture?
See, I do not have a crystal ball to frankly say how things would shape up, but all I can say is the source of trust is what keeps banking relevant in any system on the society. And as long as we find that whatever banks are doing, not necessarily the way they are doing, but whatever banks are doing in terms of managing the financial ecosystem for the country, banks will continue to be relevant. As I told you, not just CIBIL, look at it pretty much, say the land records. Today, when banks have to give you a loan against probably a property, it takes us a hell of a lot of time to figure out the title of the property, whether this property was mortgaged earlier, the ownership of the property. Now, all of a sudden, you can put all your property records here. Question now is, obviously there is a chain which will get disrupted, right? Because a whole lot of people today, probably for example, legal and technical. Today, banks spend a lot of money in doing legal and technical. There are firms today who specialize in doing this job. Today, there are government records and there are people who manage this whole land records. Now, come and think of it if you put everything there and if this really takes off. Obviously, multiple people in the system will have to figure out what their role will be. But at the same time, if you want to borrow against the property, someone has to still ensure whether that property exists. The verification of the property, the title, the lien on that, obviously you can put everything on blockchain. So organizations, firms will have to repurpose their existence. But as you asked, and as I believe, extinction, will that lead to extinction? We don't see that. But will they end up doing things differently? Answer is definitely yes.
So what do you suggest our students regarding the blockchain? Does blockchain need to be added into the academics? As we are discussing the future of these blockchains, cryptocurrency blockchains, the technology is being evolved more and more nowadays. Students are pressurized more onto technologies. So what do you suggest for these students regarding the blockchain? Should it be accepted as an academic schedule? should be accepted as a subject or should be a technology awareness?
Understood. Understood. So I'll let Avi first answer and then Kumar kind of double down on that.
For sure, I believe it has to be added as part of a curriculum. There are a lot of courses available online, free, paid, certifications. I think blockchain as a technology will transform the way. It's not going to go away, but it's going to transform the way things are currently being handled. As from an education perspective, from an engineering students, yes, there are so many courses available. I strongly recommend universities and officials look at curriculum from international, learn from what has to be added in the course. From an existing technical skill set, people are already working in corporates, whether it's, I mean, you can do blockchain development in JavaScript, Python, Solidity, or anything. So it's not about what programming language you use, it's about how you develop it in terms of your scalability, all the different attributes that contribute to a perfect blockchain. So I strongly believe, yes, it has to be part of the curriculum.
Kumar.
I think Abhi, like you just you just covered everything. There is nothing much to say. Obviously, Avinash.
The curriculum.
Okay, I get into that. Yeah, but that's not my job, correct? I'm sure there must be companies. I think Amity have started a course, no? Amity Online, working with one of the companies here in India. And so these kind of university, which is renowned in India, I think, Indian Business School, it's in Hyderabad. I think they have, so I think there are more and more universities, they are coming up with their curriculum. And I think that's something which is going really good in India, I see, yeah.
I mean, let me also answer that a little bit, given there is an opportunity. I think there are a lot of tactical programs, courses that are being done, but I think you should wait and watch a school of blockchain that will come from the stable of 1101. And I think we are going to do a much more elaborate thing in terms of making it frontline, vertical, and extremely focused. So the other way to answer that is, it is going to become extremely important. And I think in India, you'll see a change that whatever we learned in the 10+2+ degree, most of it doesn't even get used when you come to work. In fact, you start learning what you do at work from work. So why waste all this time? Most of the things doesn't even add to the fundamentals of it, right? So I think you'll see a lot of very focused, custom for your career, what is needed, and that's where we are headed from a blockchain, and that's going to be the space to watch out for. So on that note, guys, thank you very much for being a phenomenal panel, and hope it added value to the audience. And thank you very much, and have a good day. Thank you.